Hello and welcome to another Joy of SharePoint webinar. I hope everyone is having an awesome week before Thanksgiving. We're getting all the turkeys bought, all the sweet potatoes, and all the good stuff going. I have with me my coworker Mark Rackley to help us out on today's webinar. We're going to go over a few of our favorite Ignite announcements. And I don't know about you all, but it's so far been impossible to try to see all of them, even with on-demand recordings. There's just a lot of content out there. All right. Mark, somewhere I have a slide to introduce you. Here you are, but I don't think you need any introduction.
I obviously do. You know, I think people think of me and they think bacon, and I think they need to know there's a little more to me than just bacon. So
There is. You're more than just a bacon eating maniac.
slightly
And
more.
I was actually surprised to learn that when you presented at Ignite, it was not about bacon.
That's true. They did not accept my bacon session, so I had to think of something technical. So I
Okay.
did expand my horizons for the purposes of speaking at Ignite.
That's fantastic. I mean, the goal in our industry is to always be learning and expanding and growing our skills. So no, that's good. That's very good. It forced you out of your bacon zone.
Well, of course, I did do a daily bacon review for the conference bacon. So if you go on Twitter and search for hashtag bacon review, or it might have been MS Ignite bacon review, you can see. And if you're curious what the bacon was like at the event, you can find out there.
And I actually did track that. So, it's just another service that you offer for the Microsoft 365 community, and it's
I'm a
appreciated.
I'm a giver.
You are. You are. So how long have you been in the Microsoft/Microsoft 365 space?
Well, actually, I just got a notification on LinkedIn this week that my blog is 12 years old. So I've been
Oh, wow.
blogging on the content for the past 12 years. So I guess that's fairly close to when I started in this. So you could probably add on another year to that for when I was learning it and hating it and banging
Mhm.
my head against a wall and cursing all things SharePoint. So yeah, 13 years. We'll
Okay.
just say 13.
13. How long did it take to get out of the banging your head cursing stage?
I'll let you know when I get there.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome. Because I feel since you are my elder in this space, I need to learn from you. So, okay, I'll try to keep your pace on that.
all right.
Awesome.
Give me 10 more
Okay.
years.
10 more years, noted. So, and of course, that's me. You guys that have been here before know me. I am Joy Apple. I also work with Mark at Pait Group. We do Microsoft 365 consulting. I focus more on the collaboration suite side of the world, whereas Mark gets in there and does wild and wonderful voodoo with development, coding, Power Platform, all that fun stuff. Mark kind of has a twist on that because he's also a fantastic, I'm going to say business liaison. Would that be a fair term? He's
I've
a
been
good
doing it
talker.
long enough to be able to communicate with people and
Yeah.
understand, translate those business needs into English, or have them. They say what they need. They tell me what they need, and then I tell them, well, here's what you actually need.
Right, right, right. We want to collaborate. Okay. All right, well, we're going to jump right into it. So, if you've never been on a Joy of SharePoint webinar before, welcome. Please feel free to ask questions. There is a question panel here. At any time, you can hop in there, ask a question. It doesn't have to be a question, it could be an opinion. We always welcome opinions. It can be an observation or a fun story. Feel free. Mark and I will both be keeping an eye on that. So join in, the more the merrier. So intelligent, I added SharePoint. At first, this was just the announcements about the intelligent intranet. But I think it's worth noting, even though it's not just SharePoint, SharePoint is the biggest intranet tool we've got in our tool belt. Would you say that's fair to say, Mark?
It is the glue that kind of winds behind the scenes for everything and kind of holds it all together. So it's in our face with the intranets, but then it's also got its fingers in all the other pieces. So it's, yeah.
Back in my on-prem days, I used to really have to talk with the IT overlords. Like, okay, your Exchange people need to have a basic awareness of how SharePoint works with Exchange. Your AD people need to have awareness. You know, everyone needs to know because SharePoint touches it all. So yeah, I like that. It's the glue. It's like the force. It binds it all together. All right. So my favorite, so Mark let me pick my favorites and then he's going to offer opinions basically. What I've got on the screen are my favorite announcements that they announced for the intelligent intranet or SharePoint intranet features and functionalities. You'll probably notice the word hub is on the screen a lot. In fact, last month's webinar was all about utilizing hub navigation as a replacement for that old school global navigation. Well, now we see more and more happening with hub sites. Hub permissions is here. We're going to be able to set joined sites to inherit from the hub they're joined to. So we're going to get back a little bit of subsite functionality there. Doesn't mean it's going to automatically overwrite your individual site collections permissions. SharePoint has always respected permissions, kind of sometimes more than we wanted it to. But I came from the government side of the world. I'm paranoid. I like that. So we can choose if we want joined sites to inherit hub site permissions. Love it. I would say probably permissions management has been one of the hardest things for organizations to kind of wrap their arms around when it comes to SharePoint. I can see this making it better, or at least easier. Is easier better?
It depends on what you want to do, right? They make things easier and then somebody wants to customize it, and then we have to try to steer them away from over customizing it. But this is why we have jobs. So
that is absolutely true. I'm also excited to see that hub sites are starting to roll out. Home sites are going to be a nice gift. I hope they come for Christmas to be able to have tailored landing pages throughout the organization. But like you said, Mark, I think sometimes we get nervous as an organization if it's two sides of the same coin. Some people want everyone to see the exact same thing, and then the other half want people to only see certain things on the home page. So I'm curious to see how this fleshes out once it's delivered.
Well, for the home sites, I'm looking forward to when they roll out the what they show on the examples, that right-hand panel that shows all of like your recent documents and all the things that you've been working on, that personalization panel. But that's not coming out until a little bit later. But I hope they get to that soon, because I think that's when home sites are really going to take off, I think.
Yep, I think you're absolutely right. Arthur chimed in and says better is better. I'll go along with that. And Darlene, did I hear you right? Hub sites are going to allow inherited permissions. Is that with using SharePoint groups or only Office 365 groups? You know, I don't know the specifics on that. I'm hoping that it is the SharePoint groups, not the Office 365 groups, because then you're letting people get into each other's teams and Planner and all that fun stuff, and that makes me nervous. But again, I'm paranoid, so that could be why. All right. Mobile app co-branding. So there again, we're going to be able to customize, Mark, but brand with our corporate brand, not just the web-based version of SharePoint, but the experience in the mobile app. That's been a big ask for quite a while. Excited to see that happen. What else we got on here? Audience targeting on the hub site navigation. Hallelujah.
Yeah, that one's going to be a big one.
Huge, because it's been a pain point. Nobody likes to click a link and be told they don't have access. Nobody.
Yeah, and that's all you'd having to do custom navigation with the SharePoint framework. So they're releasing more and more features where before we had to write code for it. So this is the targeting of the navigation is going to be huge for a lot of organizations.
Absolutely. And Hub Analytics. Okay, every time you say the word analytics, people's ears prick. So I think that's going to be a big thing too, to be able to look at the analytics in there. I'm going to say an opinion. Sometimes the analytics we have out of the box is just enough to make us want more. So I'm curious to see how that plays out, because we always want more. Of course, there are people out there that can provide more, and we're very thankful for them. But yeah, I'm interested to see how that plays out. Page scheduling, so we'll be able to create news pages and then schedule when they publish out to the organization instead of having to remember to go publish them when it's time. So I think that'll be really great for those that have to manage and curate home pages, whether it's on team sites or communication sites. And then a big one for those of us that have locations around the world is going to be multilingual capabilities. Actually, that has its own slide because it's really a big deal. I stole this little video, but I stole it from the link that's on the slide. For a lot of the stuff that's been announced, there's really not anywhere you can go play with it yet. So you'll see there's a lot of links in the slide deck. The slide deck will be made available. So you'll be able to click these links, go read the blogs, watch the sessions, all that good stuff. So multilingual is going to be an out-of-the-box feature. I haven't read any of the nitty-gritty on how much work it's going to take in the background to set it up. Mark, do you have any insight on that?
Nothing that I can share publicly, unfortunately.
I see. I see. Okay. Still part of the super secret stuff. Okay. Pardon me. I am trying to type and talk at the same time. Okay. So that's coming. We've got, I was just telling Mark before we kicked off the webinar, we've got a client that has offices globally, some in Mexico, some in Canada where they do need French, and some in China. So I think this will be a big game changer for them. Oh, Laura, sorry, you have a question. For the audience targeting, once it hits the commercial environment, how do you think it will take to get to the GCC high tenants?
GCC high usually lags quite a bit behind. So yeah, and I don't have any dates for those either, so I can't say when it would happen.
Yeah, I think I saw that it's going to start rolling out, was it December or Q1 of 2020? So might be looking maybe middle of the year. Oh yeah, it's hard to say. Sorry, we don't have a better answer for you, Laura. I always, whenever I see Microsoft say soon too, I always, even if I'm, virtual like this, it still goes in air quotes, because soon, just depends on our definition of that fun word. SharePoint collaboration announcements. I get super excited about this because one of my primary jobs is to help our clients make sense of their data, organize it, make it easy to find, easy to work with, easy to sort and slice and dice and all that fun stuff. So I'm super excited about these guys. Extract a site to a site design. That'll include lists, branding, navigation. Mark, I sent this to Ryan yesterday and he cheered.
Good.
We're excited about that.
It's a very common request we get.
It's a common request. One thing I'm waiting on is to be able to actually make a real homepage template that's deployable soon, right? I'm hopeful. If then view formatting, we had this in Classic where I could go in to edit my view, if this category or column equals this or is less than this or contains that, do this other thing. I'm excited to see that hit modern. I'm excited to see it happen right there on that right flyout, so it's super easy for my folks to get in there and organize their views. And if you're not familiar with views, folks that are tuning in, it's SharePoint's version of a subfolder. So the more we utilize the metadata in our lists and libraries and use our views to slice it and dice it, the less we have to bury our content down deep in those folders. Oh, everybody gets happy. list and library collapse expand buttons. We can actually use the full screen to see our content. I'm excited about that. And Mark, I find this interesting. You know, one of the big asks used to be for sticky headers. Remember that? People would
Yep.
want codes of the headers to say, right?
Yep.
We have them now and nobody talks about it.
I think the thing is that people learn to they complain about what's there. They want to change what's there, and then they get used to the functionality that they have. They learn to work in it, and then so when they get the functionality that they want, they don't even use it because they realize that the tools that Microsoft, that they provided, the changes they've made, once you kind of accept that they've moved your cheese and you're going to have to change the way you do things, you get used to it.
You do.
It's just the way it works.
Well, and I
People like to
think,
complain.
well, I only complain about people that complain.
If it weren't for users, my job would be easy.
No, but I love it. It was several weeks ago I was in there and I was like, wait a minute, the headers are following my scroll. Oh, I don't even remember seeing that announcement come, but it's great. And now to be able to have that and expand to fill my screen, that's going to be nice. It's going to be nice.
Another big demo I saw. I think this was just part of SharePoint. I don't think it was like extra functionality that you have to pay for, but I don't know if it's part of Project Cortex or not, which we'll get into later. But they showed a demo where you have a list view like grouped by a status, and you could just drag items around in that list view to a different grouping, and it would update the status of that list view that
Oh,
item. So that was pretty cool.
I like that. You know, I love in the modern list library interfaces that if you do have a grouped view, if you don't, you should try it. It's awesome. Um, you can drag from your desktop and drop it on a group and it'll auto tag at that first level. But are you saying you'll be able to actually drag and drop inside of the list or library?
Yes.
Awesome. That's going to be fantastic. Um, we actually got feedback from a client on a post I did on LinkedIn about the show, hide, and reorder fields in SharePoint forms. So some people are confused. They're like, well, I don't understand why you would need to do that. But what if you had a list or library form where you're filling out that metadata, but you only need part of it right now, and then someone else will come in and do another part? You'll be able to organize and hide the columns or the fields you don't need to fill out right now. So it's like simplifying that view for some people. Basically, it's a custom view of your metadata. I think that'll add some nice simplicity for people.
Well, yeah, because now if you want to do that, you got to create a form in PowerApps to do that. You have literally no control over those fields in the SharePoint flyout panels. So I like that as well.
Yep, yeah. Right now, all you can do is just go reorder it and stick the ones you don't have to fill out at the bottom. You know,
Right.
planner cards and site activity. Nice. I suffer from a problem where if something's not in front of my face, I forget about it. Maybe I shouldn't admit that to you since I think technically you're like one of my bosses. But I am the definition of out of sight, out of mind. And with having task lists, planner, to do, Outlook tasks, I'll be real, I have never used an Outlook task in my life because they don't work for me. But to be able then to have those planner cards right there on the activity, I think that's going to make things a lot better for a lot of people.
I don't know if you talk about this later, but they did a lot of updates around tasks that are coming that are really cool. I'm looking to see if you have a slide about it. If not, this is a good place to talk about it. You don't have a slide about it, so I'll talk
I
about it for a second.
don't have a dedicated slide about it, but I think I have a call out, but let's do it.
Okay, so there is a good session I watched, actually watched a session, if you can believe it or not, about tasks and projects and the things they're doing around that. And one of the things you're going to be able to do is in the Outlook web app, you're going to be able to open up To Do as a panel in your email, and you'll be able to drag and drop emails into that To Do panel, and it will create a task for you for that email. Also within Teams, you're going to see a Tasks app in your left-hand panel, which is going to be a roll-up of all of your planner tasks and to-do tasks. So you'll be able to easily track every single one of your tasks. So I'm very, very much looking forward to that because my biggest problem is is tracking my tasks from all over the place, and I don't want to have to go to Planner all the time to see all those tasks.
Mhm. Well, and I've got, Holly creates tasks for us when we get a new client onboarded or a new project, and it's a lot. It's a lot of tasks, and everyone's associated with a different planner card or planner plan. So you've got cards everywhere. So yeah, having that concise location just to see it all, I think that's going to be great. And Darlene, I'm making a note of your question about wanting to see the show hide fields. I tweeted about it recently. I'll go find that and get you some more info on it. I am literally making a note as we speak.
And for those who don't know, almost all the sessions at Ignite were recorded, and you can go watch them now. If you go find the Ignite website, look at the sessions, and you can watch those. So anything that we've kind of looked at, if you think it sounds interesting, you can probably watch the Ignite session for it.
And you'll be glad to know I have a resource slide at the end of our presentation, and one of the links goes to the OnDemand Ignite page. So yeah, if you have a spare a few moments here and there. Some of them are 20 minutes long. Some of the big keynotes are about an hour, but so much good information. And my favorite, I even have it called out here as a favorite for the collaboration side of the world, is the ability to be able to create a new list from Excel. We had that back in the olden days. It was a little clunky, but we could import from Excel as an app. One of my missions in life is to reduce the amount of Excel spreadsheets that are running our business and make those lists. You can have calculations and formulas inside of lists, and then you've got it in a data set that's easily, exposed to the organization for good or for bad, right? It's there. You can use your Power BI. You can run analytics on it. You get away from having a spreadsheet that can be very fragile from running your business processes. That's a big deal to me. You can, Carl, yes, you can create a table in an Excel spreadsheet and export that over to SharePoint. You are correct. That is functionality that does exist now. All right. So Mark, you mentioned Project Cortex and Access. Dude, don't get me started on Access. Kicking it old school. Project Cortex. This is a big deal. Oh, sorry, no worries, dude. Project Cortex sounds like, I actually started Googling it the first time I heard the phrase, because I know that's from some science fiction movie somewhere. But this is intriguing to me. Basically having AI running in the background and curating content for us. I don't know. Mark, you're as well versed on sci-fi as I am, if not better. What are your thoughts here?
So this is probably their biggest announcement that they made at Ignite. They've got, Naomi Moneypenny is behind the helm of this. She has a video on YouTube that they recorded with Microsoft Mechanics, if you want to watch that on YouTube, or look at the Ignite sessions from the links in the slide deck. But this is, you could spend hours talking about what Project Cortex is. So I've been trying to find ways to distill it in a way that's simple and makes sense. But yeah, the bottom line is, it's Microsoft is using AI and using all the signals that are going on in Microsoft's 365 to really take ECM to the next level. Mm-hmm. And some of the things they're doing, like if you're working with multiple projects in your organization, and you have them configured for Project Cortex, Project Cortex will actually create a SharePoint wiki page for you with information about the project, the documents that it found for those projects, as well as all the people that have been working on that project. So you get a nice overview of everything surrounding that project. It also has functionality built in for, let's say your organization is using acronyms, you can, if you've got an email opened up that has that acronym in the email, Project Cortex will automatically highlight that acronym for you in the email, and you can move your mouse over it and it'll pop up a card that tells you what that acronym means. And that same functionality will work on a SharePoint page in a Word document. So it's just really reaching out into all the pieces of Office 365 to give you that visibility. Other thing, when you create that, when that wiki page is created, it is just a SharePoint page. So you can still edit that page and you can add web parts to it. And there's a whole set of Project Cortex specific web parts that you can add to that page. Probably the thing I like best about Project Cortex is they've got functionality now that you can upload documents that are unstructured. You can upload a JPEG of an invoice and train Project Cortex for how to extract the data out of that image. So a client's name, a client's account number, metadata, and automatically populate fields in a SharePoint list with that metadata. So when someone uploads an image, the AI will be able to pull out all of that content from that image and stick it into the fields in SharePoint. So that's probably the coolest thing that I saw that they were doing with Project Cortex from those things that clients ask for all the time.
Just think about how much office space we would get back without those massive scanners doing that. It's really interesting to see and to know that it expands all the apps too. So like you said, you could be an email, you could be in an Office document, you could, anywhere you do your job. You're right, Carl, mobile phone cameras are the new scanners, absolutely. It's one of my favorite features about OneDrive, the app, is to be able to take a picture of documents and receipts. But yeah, to be able to just work wherever you need to work and to have the service that's available that does, I don't want to say it does the thinking for us, but it does the finding and the data mining for us. So then we can go on and start doing, those more important things than filling out all the metadata, which is super important. But if it can take that task off, then we're actually going and working on the data, not just curating it. So it's really curious to see how this grows over the next few years.
Yeah, there will be an additional cost for it. It's not going to be included in your E3 subscription. It probably won't even be included in the E5 if I had to guess. It'll be a premium offering that you'll have to pay for.
Okay.
But they haven't announced pricing. I could totally be wrong. I'll bet my house it's not going to be part of E3 though.
Well, I mean, they're not a not-for-profit organization, so we can't fault them too much. So, and this kind of feels like tailoring over or switching over to search makes sense because your Project Cortex feels like this massive investment inside that has come out of the graph and search and all that stuff and adding that AI capability to it. I think a big announcement with search, not just SharePoint search, but Microsoft 365 search. Everywhere we are inside of the Microsoft ecosystem, search is going to be available for us. Bing, don't roll your eyes, folks. I know most of us are Google users when it comes to search, but to be able to search in Bing and find what you need from your organization, that could be a huge time save. Office.com, which is one of my favorite landing pages ever. Pretty much anywhere you go, search is there and leveraging who we work with, what kind of content we work with. They're improving like natural language search. So they showed an awesome demo with the Outlook mobile app of going and searching, say, emails from Holly or emails from Holly in October. And search is just picking up on that natural language query and bringing you what you asked for. That's huge.
Well, the nice part about that is the consistency. It's no matter where you're at, you're going to get the same search experience. So, you don't have to train users on multiple ways to do things. Once they get used to using search, they will appreciate having the same experiences across Microsoft 365.
Absolutely. So when you're inside of an Office document and you need to be able to search for something from SharePoint, that capability will be there. You won't be having to play hopscotch. This might feel like a bit of a sidebar, but one of the big wins with Teams is the ability to be able to create a little hub, an individualized hub for you or your team, where you have tabs that can take you to the resources you work with day in and day out. Search is a big part of that. So to not have to context switch from a document over to SharePoint or from Teams into presentation or a PDF, to have it all at your fingertips, it's giving us a lot of time back in our day. Some of the big announcements for SharePoint Search: custom verticals and refiners. I've got a slide next to show what that looks like. That's going to be super awesome. Over 100 connectors utilizing the Microsoft Graph. So to have a search refiner where you could go and look inside of ServiceNow, that was something they demoed. Very cool. Being able to go to SharePoint and say, who can help me with Excel? Or who knows about sales laws in China? You know, people that have filled out their profile and tagged themselves with certain keywords. Search will understand what we want and be able to help us find that expertise. I'm super excited. We're going to be able to search in SharePoint and find videos and stream or pretty much anywhere they may be stored. I think that's going to be a big deal. Videos are becoming the new FAQs. Though I know you've got another suggestion for FAQs we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But I like the interactive side of that. I like being able to create a screen share or a screen video, share that with a client to show them how to do something so it's repeatable for them. And it becomes this great little help file rather than having them to go find the text instructions I sent them in an email 6 months ago. Yeah, and last but not least, custom result pages. Woohoo! Mark, this is going to be your big thing because we're going to need some SPFX web parts.
Right. So in the biggest hurdle, I think, to really embracing the modern experience in SharePoint has been the lack of being able to customize the search results, because in the classic experience, we had the display templates that we could customize and custom refiners and create a truly custom search experience that help people find exactly what they're looking for. And we could not do that in the modern SharePoint easily. And so the releasing of these web parts is going to be huge. And that's your reasons for staying in classic are, I would say, almost completely gone. So if you're not in modern, start looking at modern.
Yes. And I actually heard that phrase a couple of times in different Ignite sessions. Some of the keynotes too, they're like, if you haven't gone to modern, we need to be moving to modern. So it wasn't nothing negative was said about classic, but there's a lot of emphasis on going ahead and getting over to modern. Like you said, man, they're really taking away the reasons to stay classic. So here's that slide. It's a little blurry because I had to, again, take it from somebody else's slide. Actually, I stole this from the video presentation they were doing. Again, I've got links to all this in the slide deck you guys will have access to. But yeah, here across the top, you see they've got those custom refiners, not just our standard files, sites, and people, but videos, ServiceNow, whatever their Contoso catalog may be, custom refiners, and custom connectors using the Microsoft Graph.
So the other thing I want to point out about this page is, if you notice, there's no header on this. There's no navigation on this. And this is the new search page that they're creating, so that you can create these search center pages that you navigate users to, that it is a full page view. And it's interesting because we also have a lot of requests from people who want to create pages without a header on them. Yes. So I'm not sure how easy it will be to reuse this page layout for other things, but that's something that is pretty cool about this page. So if you'll notice, just thought something, a little extra information I threw out there for free. So
the free portion of the webinar. Well, one of the blurbs I saw going through Sue Hanley's recap slide deck, which is invaluable, and yes, there's a link to that on my resource slide, shy headers.
That's also a big one, yeah. People have been asking for that.
Yes, I mean, right now you can. Go in, modify your header, make it compact, which will kind of scrunch it. Yes, that's a technical term. Scrunch the header just a little bit. Not a lot, but a little. So I'm curious to see what the shy header experience will be like.
It's going to be
All right.
half a logo peeking out, and they're going to put eyeballs on it blinking.
If they make the eyes like googly eyes, so as you scroll up and down on the page, they kind of wiggle, I'm all for it.
It'll have Baby Yoda pulling the blanket down on it.
Oh, I'd pay money for that. Clippy. Yeah, little clippy eyeballs. But okay, if y'all haven't seen it's not really Yoda, but the baby Yoda in Mandalorian, you're missing out. He or she will steal your heart. Okay. Teams updates. I'm excited. I'm excited about this. Okay, the first one I'm semi-excited about. Private channels are rolling out now. My demo tenant has them. I was on site with some folks last week. They have it in theirs. You can create a private channel in your team. If you had not been following the chatter with this, okay, when we create a standard channel, we get a folder in our SharePoint team site documents library, right? That connected team site, because SharePoint does all the file management for Teams, right? Teams is the interface where we can drop them off. Okay. When I create a private channel, puts a little padlock next to it in Teams, actually creating a whole new SharePoint site. Yes. Yes. But I kind of get it, because the best practice for SharePoint security has always been you secure the largest container possible. So securing a site is better than securing a list or library, and securing a list or library is better than securing a folder, so on and so forth. But there we have it. So yes, it's another site collection in our environment, because we are trying to stay away from subsites. We want everything to be as flat as possible. And Mark, you mentioned they have upped the number of site collections you can have in your tenant now. You want to break the news?
Yes, you can now have up to 2 million site collections in your tenant. So I know most of you were bumping that 500,000 level, but now you can have 2 million. And a big reason for that, I believe, you can't, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'm thinking it's because these site collections do get created whenever you do create a private channel. So be judicious in your creation of private channels. Don't just go and create them everywhere. It does create more maintenance overhead. So use them judiciously. If you don't need a private channel, don't create a private channel. If you can just actually need a group chat, just use a group chat. You can share files in a group chat. Those group chats can be named and they can persist. So that's just kind of my advice, that yeah, don't create private channels unless you actually need them.
Well, and it goes back to, again, security best practices. My question I ask when someone's like, well, I want to secure this folder. Is it a breach of security if everyone that has access to the library see those documents? Yes. Okay, then you need to be in a new library. If it's not a breach of security, oh, we just don't want them to because they don't really work with those documents. It's fine. It's fine. We're busy people and we hire these people to do a job, so we're going to trust them to do their job. But if it's a breach of security, yes, you go find a new place to put it. So I will absolutely echo Mark on that. Just because you can create a private channel doesn't mean you necessarily should. Now, my Joy of SharePoint favorite Teams announcement, I have 2 or 7, I don't know. Multi-windows in Teams, not just chat, but you can pop out that meeting window. You can pop out windows inside of Teams early 2020. Yes, I'm so excited about that. Because right now my solution to not being able to do that is I chat on my mobile app on my phone while I'm chatting on my desktop app while I'm chatting on a browser app. So that's how I work around it now. I'm excited for multi-windows. And guess what? Metadata is coming to Teams. We're gonna have SharePoint metadata in our Teams tabs. Yay! I think we're gonna be able to kick off flows and all that fun stuff from inside tabs, if I'm remembering reading the article correctly.
They also have expanded functionality for teamifying your SharePoint sites. So you'll be able to, Jeff Tieper did a great demo of it in the Modern Workplace keynote. So again, for people who haven't seen it, go look at the Jeff Tieper's updates for SharePoint from the Ignite sessions and just watch the whole entire thing. So
Yes.
it's great.
Yep, and this is that reference. So when you create a site, you'll be able to go add your assets to your team and vice versa. They're going to get you coming and going. So that's nice. One-stop shopping. Integration with Outlook is coming. So there will be a send email to Teams button inside of Outlook. That will be fantastic. You'll be able to send emails from Teams, and you'll get actionable missed activity emails. So not just an email letting you know you missed something inside of Teams, but you'll be actually be able to do something from that email. I'm liking that. I'm not a Linux person. I dabbled with it briefly like 12 or 13 years ago, but I think it's super cool for a lot of folks to know there is a Teams app coming for Linux. We'll have new message extensions inside of Teams, polls and surveys. I can already see the first thing our project manager is going to do is put in a survey to see who's submitted their timesheet on time. I think that'll probably be its first use, Mark.
I'm sure it will.
We're bad consultants. And then tasks in Teams. So this is what you were mentioning earlier, being able to have a unified place for all of our tasks. That'll be nice. I have two separate links on this slide when we get these sent out to you guys. One was a blog from a member of the community, and then was the actual tech community Microsoft blog. So lots of good information in both. And I'll go back to this slide I teased with a second ago. So yeah, when I'm inside of my SharePoint team site, I can select the resources from that site to go create tabs in Teams. That's a big deal, folks. If you're not leveraging tabs inside of your team channels, I really encourage you to think about it. What are the things you need to go out of Teams for the most or frequently? Tab it. See, so Microsoft has the words, let me think, Groupify, Teamify, and Hubify. I've started using Tabify. It fits, right? Build up those tabs inside of Teams and you'll see the amount of context switching you have to do throughout the day reduce pretty significantly. And big announcement for Yammer folks that this is the year of Yammer. There's going to be new and improved web and mobile design for Yammer, better search and notifications up in the suite bar. Teams app, because what we really need is one more place to go for messages. I said that when Teams was released. I say that about all these various chat things. Oh, great, one more place. But if we use it correctly, we can create one-stop shopping. So being able inside of Teams to get the Yammer notifications that are going on, I think that'll be a great enhancement for folks that are using both Teams and Yammer. Folks will be able to add their organizational branding to Yammer, have a place for all company updates. Leadership's going to have some new tools inside of Yammer, kind of similar to the Teams experience, live events, be able to do short videos. So lots of good enhancements coming to the Yammer platform, including Q4 of next year, granular retention and deletion policies across both communities and users. So our security and compliance people are going to really appreciate that. Slides aren't fitting in the screen. Let me see. So I'm hearing, guys, that maybe my slides aren't displaying properly. Let me do a reshare of screen too and see if that helps. The bottom is cut off, so you're not seeing the URL. Correct. Fun. Okay. Let me go ahead and flip to the other one so you can start consuming what is there while I kind of try to do something about that. So, tell you what, I'm going to stop showing my slides for half a second and then reshare. Hopefully that'll be better. So this slide, I took it entirely from Sue's slide deck. I've not been shy about giving her credit because she does this every year, I believe. She sends out that recap of everything that happened. But we've got timelines and investments on where they're looking for the enhancements for Yammer to roll out. And we have the path for how to get to the new Yammer experience. So if Yammer is something you are utilizing now, there is a path forward, and they show how you can opt in for the new Yammer as it rolls out. So lots of good stuff happening here. Speaking of good stuff, our very own Mark Rackley presented a fantastic session at Ignite on, actually you were in a session with Stephanie as well, were you not?
I was. Stephanie and I did a couple of sessions together in the diversity and inclusion track on running a business together, as well as being a parent in technology. So this was my technical session on, things you can do in Azure that maybe historically were doing things in SharePoint that maybe you shouldn't have been doing. And by doing things in Azure, you can kind of get more functionality and better security, maybe even save some money using some of those things. So just to quickly talk through these bullet points. I did an example of how you can use a Q&A bot instead of having a company FAQ. This allows users to find what they're looking for in a much more conversational way than rather having to search for a specific keyword. Like, so if you have a whole FAQ about vacation policies, instead of the user having to search that page for something, they could just ask the question and say, hey, I want to take off Friday. And because of the AI behind these bots, they'll know that when someone's asking for time off, they're actually asking about vacation. So here's the information on vacation. So it just a little better user experience for people. You can also use those bots in Teams, since that's where they're at anyway most of the time. And then, go ahead.
So I'd say one of my favorite thoughts for that is I know you've done a demo on that, I believe, doing an FAQ bot inside a team. So it gives people that interaction.
Yeah, there should be a blog post on the Pait group site where I kind of walk you through the steps of doing that.
Perfect.
The other thing that I talked about was a lot of companies, they want to take, the first thing they want to do when they get SharePoint is take their file shares and just copy and paste and then drag them over into SharePoint and say, hey, here's our mess that we had in a file share. Now we have our mess in a SharePoint document library. And I really encourage people to not do that. You need to, if you're not using a document anymore, delete it, right? Don't keep it around. It's in some cases you legally don't want that document around. But if you do have a document that is an archived document that you may need just once or twice a year, or you don't know when you're going to need it again and you just can't let it go, well, instead of taking up that storage space in SharePoint, use an Azure blob storage to store that. And a really compelling reason to do that is that if you're storing content in SharePoint, that's going to cost you, for extra storage, it's $200 a month per terabyte to store extra content in SharePoint, where if you go to Azure Blob Storage, you can get that cost down to as low as 99 cents per terabyte per month. So it's 200 times cheaper to store that in Azure Blob.
I've been putting that to people from a search perspective. Had a conversation with people recently. They're like, well, we're going to move it into SharePoint, but we're going to move it into an archive in SharePoint. It's like, wait. Ask your users this question. When you search for certain keywords that'll be present in this archived information, are you going to be irritated when all this old archive stuff shows up in search? Well, yeah, it's old. I don't want search to rank back to me. Well, don't put it in SharePoint, right? Keep it somewhere where search isn't going to be cluttered up with your old archive stuff.
Then the next one I talked about was just using, I'll just come on the last two, just how you can use things like Azure Web Apps and Azure Functions to do some development in SharePoint. So when you're using the SharePoint framework or creating web parts, you can get some better security, better performance, and you know, maybe get to on-prem resources and stuff like that. So rather than just doing all client-side dev, look at using Azure Web Apps and Azure Functions.
It feels like Azure's been one of those things to me from my perspective. Office 365 groups were around for a while, but my side of the world were like, okay. And it really wasn't until we started using them as a security service through Teams and Planner and SharePoint and Exchange. Oh, okay, here's a great thing to do with Office 365 groups. And it feels like until folks like yourself get out there and go, hey, did you know Azure can do all this really great stuff for you? It's been out here for a while. Go use it, right? It feels like maybe from the business side of the world, we've not have a lot of good reason to go explore Azure. But I see things like this start to go, oh, that's why we should be using it.
Yeah, and there's a lot. I mean, you can get started with Azure for free if you want to get a free subscription to play around in there. There's just so many features in there. It's growing like crazy. So if you're not in Azure yet, start playing with it.
I feel we might have to have you come back and do a whole Azure webinar sometime in 2020. So stay tuned, folks. If that's something you think you'd be interested in seeing, we'll see if we can't get back on Mark's schedule for, and Darlene already says yes. So, okay, Mark, you're committed sometime in the 2020.
I'll consider it.
Yes, we'll get them, folks.
If enough people come to Branson, I'll do it. How's that?
Branson. Well, speaking of Branson, oh, here's the resource slide. So yes, this will be part of what's going to be out there. See, people already saying they're coming. Speaking of Branson, dun dun dun. Oh, and if the bottom of the screen's still cutting off, hopefully you can see the discount code because you guys are here, and that makes you officially our favorites. Mark has offered a discount code. If you haven't registered yet, go add code JOY, all uppercase, when you register to save you $50.
Yeah, so for those who are not familiar with the conference, it's a 2-day community event in Branson, Missouri. So it's right in the middle of the country. And what makes this conference unique is it's the same speakers that they have at Ignite. It's the same speakers they have at like the SP Fest conferences, the bigger conferences, but it's a community event. This is a nonprofit event. So registration is only $150, and that's to help me cover my costs. But you can even save $50 by using that discount code. But it's 2 days of sessions. We have a third day of workshops if you want to sign up for those. And yeah, we're gonna have a whole track on Teams, a whole track on cloud security this time. That's new for us, and we've got Azure information, but all the other stuff in Microsoft 365 too. So if you've not been there before, it is a lot of fun. It is a very unique conference. It's in a very intimate setting where once you get to Branson, everything's in foot traffic. You get to hang out with the speakers at the end of the day for the parties that we have. I know I'm partial to it, but it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. And like you said, it's a smaller venue, so you're not going to kill yourself getting to all the sessions, and it keeps everybody close. Like you said, you'll be walking through the hallway and you'll see the speaker that you saw that morning, and you can take a few minutes and talk with them, pick their brain, get information from. It really is a fantastic experience. And if you've ever gone and registered for some of the other SharePoint conferences out there, $150, $100, that's a steal.
Yeah, in fact, I fight the problem with a lot of people say, well, my boss won't pay for me to go to Branson because they think since it's $150, it must not be worth it. And it's like, no, it's not. I'm not making money off of it. That's why. And if you really want to spend more money, okay, here's the thing. For those people who really, really want to spend more money, I have 10 VIP tickets that are $1,500. So if your boss says, hey, this is too cheap, I'm not going to send you there, say, nope, it's $1,500. and you can go for a
There you
VIP
go.
pass.
There
So
you go. All access,
that's
right?
right. It is an all access pass. You actually get invited to the speaker parties if you pay for those. So
And also to say too, the breakfast he has does include bacon. So
every morning,
every
bacon,
morning there will be
bacon
bacon.
every morning.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. Oh, Mindy says she loves the Branson conference. Awesome. Thank you, Mindy, for chiming in on that. Um, oh, that's true, Don, that the bacon's only there if you beat Mark to it.
Well, I've ordered extra bacon next year as well. So
Okay, that's good. That's good.
yeah.
I'm glad you contingency planned. How many attendees would you say you typically get?
We typically get just over 300. This year, we're already ahead of pace, so I'm expecting about 400 people this year.
Awesome.
Yeah,
How many years have you been doing it now?
this is the 11th year.
Wow, you still have hair too. That's impressive.
I'm losing quite a bit, so
Yeah, we know it's a lot of work, but Mark really does get some amazing people in literally from all over the world. So it really is, it's a fantastic experience that, if it's going to break the bank for some of those other conferences, it's just silly not to come to this one. It really is. All right. Well, we appreciate you all being here today. We thank you for your participation in the conversation and for being part of our day. Um, we do have how many attendees at SharePoint Fest? I'm not sure how many typically show up at SharePoint Fest.
in the 500 range.
500? Okay. So you're starting to creep up on them, aren't you?
Working on it.
Oh, the speaker to attendee registration at the North American Collaboration Summit. So you typically have how many speakers?
About 50 speakers.
50 speakers. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's pretty low. And like I said, you get to during we do have an attendee party on the first night where we're going to buy out a bowling alley and have fun there, and you'll be able to hang out with the speakers and talk to them. Really great folks.
Mm-hmm. It's a great community. If you've never had the opportunity to go to a SharePoint Saturday or a conference like NACS, it really is impressive what a warm and welcoming community we have. T-Bird actually bragged on us. He has to because he's part of us in his keynote just about the SharePoint community in general and now becoming the 365 community. Always out there to help each other, work with each other, support each other. Um, we help our fellow community members grow and learn. It's a great place to be, and this is a great place to come and just meet other members of the community, speakers and attendees. All right. You guys feel free to keep asking questions, anything like that. That does officially wrap the end of this webinar. We appreciate you all being here and again, your participation. And yeah, we'll definitely get on Mark's schedule for a all Azure webinar here in the future. But thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Mark.